We'll be needing about a yard of fabric for a petite side for this project. Also, we will need our tape measure, hip curve, and the ruler, especially for starters. First, we need to take our body measurements. The measurement we will need for this project is the round waist or waist circumference, the round hip or hip circumference, waist to hip, and then our desired skirt length. The round waist we are using for this project is 28, round hip is 38, waist to hip measurement is 8, and then our desired skirt length is going to be 22. So this is about all the measurements we need for this project. So let's get right into the pattern drafting. For this project, we are going to divide our round measurements by 4. So round waist 28 divided by 4 will give us 7. Round hip 38 divided by 4, that will give us 9.5. So these are the measurements we are going to be using on fold of this fabric as we are drafting the pattern. So first, I'm going to create a starting point so that you can see it well. I'm doing 1 inch away from the tip of the paper, and that's going to be our waistline. Also, for the length, I'm also doing 1 inch away, and that is going to be our center front. And the tip of the paper is going to be our center front. Now, let's square out our measurements. This is our waistline. The first line is our waistline. 8 inches away from that, from our measurements, waist to hip length is 8 inches. So 8 inches away from that will be our hip length or hip line. So I'm going to square that down too. And then our skirt length is going to be 22. So here we have it. I'm also connecting the line. On the waistline, we have our round waist measurement to be 28 inches, and then divided by 4, we have 7 inches. So we have it here, 7 inches. And then our round hip measurement is 9.5. That's 38 divided by 4 rather. So we are also marking that here. We are also taking this 9.5 inches straight down. I'm going to explain why, and now you can tweak that later. But if we are to connect this to this, the curve will be too much. So we are going to add 1 inch zip as that allowance to this waist measurement, so that we can use that to shape the waist of the skirt. So since we have 7 inches here plus 1 inch that allowance, that will give us 8. And then from this 8 points, we are going to use our hip curve to connect to the hip line. Also come down by 1 more inch after the hip line as a curve before you stop. Then from this point you can connect with a straight line to this point, which is on the hemline. So this will be our front skirt, but then we took the same hip measurements to the hemline. So this is going to be like a box skirt. Whatever your measurement is around the hip is going to be taken straight down. However, if you want a pencil skirt, that's when we will do some adjustments here around the hem. If you want a pencil skirt, you can do between 1 and 1.5 inches lesser than your hip measurement. So by that I mean on your from your hip line, since you took your round hip measurement down to your hemline, then you come in by 1 inch to make the skirt slimmer at the hemline. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm coming back in by 1 inch. And then from this 1 inch point coming down from your hip line, you connect straight down to the hemline. So these are the two variations of this skirt. First, as a box fit. Sorry, I pierced my paper. That means the same measurement you have on your hip line is what you take down, and you have these effects like what I'm showing on the screen as the result of your skirt. However, for a pencil skirt, you come in by 1 inch or 1.5 inches, depending on how slim you want your skirt to be after when you are done. So this will be for pencil skirts. I hope you got that. So fine, let's come back to our waistline. To determine where you are going to place your dart on this waistline, we will need your bust point to bust point measurement, and that's going to be the center of your dart. So for this measurement, the bust point to bust point measurement is 7. Divide that by 2. Since this is on fold, that will give us 3.5. So this point will be the center point of our dart. But then how long will our dart be? To determine your dart length, for front skirt, you come up by 2 inches from your hip line. So for this person, we will have the dart length to be 6 inches, since our waist to hip measurement is 8 inches. So the dart length of this skirt is going to be 6 inches. So 6 inches from this point, we'll stop at this point, and then this will be the center point of our dart. Then to either side of this dart point, we are going to go half an inch to the right and to the left of it. Remember, we added 1 inch to the actual measurements for dart. So that's the 1 inch we are removing from this point, and then that's half inch to the right and to the left of this dart point, and that will give us 1 inch. Then we are connecting back to this point. And that's about it for this skirt. So by the time we hold this dart, don't forget this is going to be sewn in. By the time we hold this dart, we have our 7 inches back up, and then we can decide if we want a pencil skirt or a straight skirt for this. For this, I want a pencil skirt, so I'm going to cut on this pencil skirt line. Don't forget, we've not added seam allowances to this. We are going to do that. Since this is a basic block, you don't need seam allowances because this might not be what you want to use eventually. You might still have to adapt this. So we are not adding seam allowance to it. Instead, we are going to add seam allowance when we are done or on our fabric. Don't forget, I'm cutting on this point because it's a pencil skirt. If you had wanted a box skirt, like just a straight skirt, you cut on this line. So now let's go to the back. I'm going to use the other side of this for the back pattern. The only difference with this back pattern is one, our dart length we increase by half an inch. So since we have 6 inches as the dart length for front, we are going to have 6.5 inches as the dart length for back. And that's because of the bump shape at the back. We want it to be close to her hip so that the excess after holding the dart will accommodate rather the bump. And another thing which I would like to show you on this mannequin is the way we are going to shape the center back of this skirt. I hope you can see this mannequin. Naturally, this is how a human body, woman body, of course, is shaped. And this would have been a skirt waist if she had been a lady, or if she had been, well, you understand what I mean. So this would have been a skirt band. One thing you will notice about the back as against the front is that this back goes in more around the waist. I hope you can see the mannequin. Goes in more around the waist than it does at the back. It's like it's shooting out at the waist in front, but then it goes in more at the back. Comparing it with these points, you notice that it goes in. So we need to adjust for that too. If not, this center back will be loose. So what that means is that we are supposed to have more by the side and in front than we do have at the back. And that's where bump shaping comes in. So in this, while adjusting this skirt, we are going to, for the center back, we are going to reduce the waist width, round waist measurement. I hope we understand that. So having that knowledge, we are how that is going to affect us is that we are going to reduce the round waist of this measurement around the center back and then return that to the side seam. Let me pin this down. So I want to tape this down so it will be easy for us to manipulate. Okay. So now that we have it, on this line, on the waistline, we are going to add half an inch to the side seam and connect back to the hip point. And then with that, I'm marking with a straight line straight down to the hem. Don't forget our dart, we are also going to mark it in the center point here. Let me connect the lines. Okay. Remember we added half an inch to the side seam. So we remove that half an inch here from the center back and then connect back to the hip line. That's at 8 inches. So this is our hip line. Let me transfer that. Fine. And then with a hip curve, don't forget that we've not lost any measurements here because we've added this half an inch back to the waistline. And then this will be our dart midpoint. So we are going down by 6.5 inches. Don't forget we are adding half an inch to the front dart length. The front dart length was 6 inches. So now we are using 6.5 for the back. And half an inch to both sides of the dart will mark our dart legs. Fine. And that is good. And this is going to be our back skirt. So I'm going to cut this out on the lines marked. Don't forget this is a pencil skirt. And this, since this is the center back, so we might decide to add the zip allowance to this point if we are making a pencil skirt. And this is the side seam for the back side seam line for the back pattern. And then we are cutting this off on the center back line. So we'll come back to the papers later. Now, for people with bigger tummy, sometimes you notice folds after the tummy area. So to avoid that on this pattern, I made a separate video on this, on how to correct it in case you are done making the pattern and then making the skirt and you notice the mistake. But here we want to adjust for that even before we start sewing at all. So you come down by 0.75 from the waistline at the center front. Let me label this too so we know what we are doing. At the center front, you come down by 0.75 inches and connect back to your waistline, to your side seam rather, with a curve. So we are going to cut this off to adjust for the tummy bulge. So by the time we are done, we are going to fold this dart in and then finish it off. So now let's talk about the band. This is waist to knee or waist to desired length of this skirt. Our band is also has also been part of this, because and this is the block. So what we are going, we want to cut out the part that will be the band out of this skirt. So we are going down by the band length we want. For this project, I want a 1.5 inch band. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inches from the tip of the pattern till the end, and then we connect it. I will do the same thing for the back pattern. To avoid mistake, let me use a curve to connect all the lines. Are you sure this is up to 1.5? Yeah, that's it. Again, so we are cutting on the second line. Sorry for the mix-up. So this is going to be our band. Let me label it. But we are still going to work on it, and this is the center front of the band. Forgive my handwriting. And we are going to repeat the same thing on this back pattern. We come down by 1/2 inch. Yes, 1.5 inches. And this time we are connecting with a straight line, since we did not adapt the pattern in any way. And this is going to be our back band. So I'm going to cut it off center back. I'll just do CB for that. We already know what it is. So this is going to be our main skirt, while this stuff will be the bands. Don't forget that if we have been sewing on the skirt, this part that's covered by the darts is supposed to be sewn in. So it's not part of the measurement. But since this is a band and we don't want to have that seam, we are going to fold it over like so, so as to eliminate the dart allowance. We'll do the same thing for the front darts. We are folding it in to eliminate the band and the waist allowance. And you notice that kind of shaped the band, and this is what we are looking for. That's why we did that. So I'm going to tape both on the wrong side so that we can work with the right side. I hope you are finding value in this video. Kindly like and comment. Also share to others so they can also benefit from it. Now rather gum it to keep it in place. I'm also doing that on the right side. And then I'm going to two that so that it will be equal. Fine. So now again, we don't want to have, we want it to have joining by the side. Of course, if you want it to have the side seam, then it's fine, you cut separately. But since we don't want this to have a separate seam, I'm going to join the band, the side seam together, like so. So that when we cut, it will be just a single piece, starting with the center front unfold and then ending at the center back. Mhm. Fine. So here we have our band. This is the center front, this center back, and then back. And following the green line. So it means when we are cutting on fold and like this. You know that you notice that this is no longer a straight line like you cut band, but rather it's following the shape of the body. So here we have our patterns ready, the center front, the center back, and then the band that we need. Kindly subscribe to this channel so that you get to see the sewing video of this pattern. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, kindly click the like button, comment and share to others so that they can also benefit from it. And until I come your way next time, my name is Sarah and this is Princess Fashion.